Well, it's Gerry and friends again. Hi, everyone. Told you I was going to do it, trying to stay committed. Today's conversation is really about the PR and eventing industry. Um, an industry that is hugely dependent on the physical, the visual, the experience, what you can touch, what you can see. And, businesses have often called marketing, PR, and etc. as soft add-ons. I remember that from years ago. I'm hoping they don't still consider it that. But so this evening we're speaking to two very dear friends, Vista Kalipa, who is co-founder and director of On Point PR, always on point. He's always on point. Everything he does is always on point. And the question really is going to be, how do we continue to be on point going into the future? Also joining the conversation is Vivian Casaletti. Me and your sister have come a long way, but you've grown into a force to be reckoned with. She's the Chief Marketing Officer at Optimize Agency. And how do we optimize the space, the time, and the experiences our people are going to have? Vista, you are a consummate host at your event. So what are the thoughts? Where are you now, and what is the future?
Well, hi, Gerry. Thank you for having me on this platform. We were, as we were talking earlier, saying that people keep talking about the new normal that is about to come. Actually, it is not about to come. We are already in it because we have changed the way that we do business. We have changed the way that we are conducting meetings with clients. We are changing the ways in which we think about how we're going to put out and sell products, client branded products to consumers out there. So we have had to go and change the way that we think and the way that we strategize. We have had to look at our strategies and say, okay, it's fine. Most of the time, we had dependent, on small events and launches and product launches and those kinds of things to actually get the product out. But now we are unable to do so.
Yeah.
So what do? Of course, we have to communicate the brands. Brands cannot die because we can't adapt ourselves to the current times that we live in. So we have had to be clever. We have had to think of better ways of how we can communicate those brand messages and get them across to clients and consumers as well. Sorry.
And we'll come back to the ideas that you've had to come up with, because that's going to be exciting. Vivian, all right. You and I were about to do an event. And on the eve of the event, we found out that lockdown would come the very next day. So clearly, you were hit right, at the beginning. I'm certain that you've had to think again and very hard about how things will go for you. What is it going to be like for you from here on? Give me a visual.
Well, we had to, just like Vista said, we had to change our whole mindset. We had to look at things differently and see what can we offer our clients in order for them to still get a good return on investment and to engage with their clients the way they want to, and reach their business objectives. So adapt to the new normal in a way that still gives a return on investment. That's very important for us. So we're looking at what are the objectives, how do we reach them with this new virtual reality where we can't connect, we can't engage, we can't chat face to face. We can't. In our case, an event we were going to do was about launching this beautiful Italian furniture shop in Cromerville called the Lusso. So how do we still get people to fall in love with that furniture? How do we get people to re-see or see in a different way their purchasing habits? Because now even our purchasing habits have changed. E-commerce is going to be a big thing in certain segments of the market. In other segments, there still be that face-to-face. But how do we not change, but adapt our behavior to what is the new normal?
And Vista, how do we adapt our own behavior, and how do we teach the consumer to adapt?
All right, so it starts with, at first we have to put the challenge onto ourselves as to how do we now change the way that we communicate now, which would be different from the way that we have been doing communications. Because ultimately the message has to get across, it has to get to the consumers, to get them to change their way of thinking and meet you and get on board with the new way of doing things. So it starts with that. Ultimately, actually, if you think about it, the ultimate job of a public relations practitioner, it is to sell sentiment. You have to be creative in your language. You have to be creative in the words that you use. You have to, you have to give people that reason to actually want to use your product without actually seeing it, because now there's that distance that's created between product and see and experience it, and now there's that barrier, which is now they can only see it virtually. So you have to now use your words to actually paint this beautiful picture, this beautiful picture that gets them to actually just go, okay, this sounds like something I should really try out. And then you just use your words and your communication to get them to do that. So you sell the sentiment and get them to fall in love with your product, and then eventually your brand.
You know, Vista and Vivian, I would probably be, I'm older than the two of you, right? I don't look it. But
just pulled ageism on.
but I've had a hard time with purchasing online. It just wasn't something we did in our day. You touched something, you felt it, you fit it on, you opened it, you looked at the packaging from every angle, and you enjoyed the visual experience of it all. And I'll be honest, ever since online shopping has come, I've still found it difficult. Some of my favorite, I'll give you an example, designers would be online and I'd go, nah, I'm gonna go to the store. If I can do it 2 weeks from now, I'm still gonna go. I'm not gonna do this online. I just had not gotten myself into the headspace where I could do that. And Vivian, we're gonna have to evolve, us fossils. we're gonna evolve, won't we?
I think so, but I don't know if I've just believed that there will be a positive outcome of all of this, but I think there will be a mix. I still think the traditional way of purchasing will exist, but in a very unique, one-on-one, two-on-two, personalized manner. And then there will be, catering for the new, the generation that is digital, that lives in the digital era already, with e-commerce, because they don't need to have that kind of personal experience that we were brought up with. So, but I still think one-on-one and personalization in terms of taking a product to market for a specific person or for a specific objective will still exist. Like, still going back to the case of furniture, you have to try the furniture, you have to see the furniture. There's certain elements that you need to check, right?
Yeah.
So maybe the experience in store will be different, will be more personalized, and maybe that's what it could actually be a very special experience.
Yes, so and just to add on to that, Viv, but I would also say, because I think and you're quite right in stating that we're going to have a hybrid approach, to everything that we do. So now when you cater for that market that is more, technologically sound and savvy, that still wants that virtual experience, that's virtual. But now you're talking to them in a manner that would entice, and excite them. So you would imagine that your people know exactly what type of furniture they're looking for. They know if you're talking to them about sinuous designs, they exactly know what that looks like in their heads. And then in terms of your cushioning that you're using in it, so you're gonna have to be very more specific in terms of how you now paint a picture and describe that piece of furniture, to actually excite them and get them to go, okay, this sounds like, if you're somebody that likes, you would know the different types of cushions that are, that are out there.
Right.
So you know that a typical bracket would be looking
Yes.
at that, and colors, and then the wood that is being used and all such. So you would just have to be more specific with those and use the kind of language that they want to hear to get them to go, okay, it's fine, I trust it enough, I'll get it delivered.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be, sorry, Gerry,
Yes.
it has to be personalized, to your target, to your market, to Gerry, to Vivian, to Vista, because we all have different tastes and we all view products in a different way. So how do we create that resonance, that, willingness, like you were saying, that communication, that that entices people to still go out there, or still purchase, or still wants to be engaged in that manner?
So what you're saying is very interesting. In broadcasting, we used to, well, not we used to, the reality is when you're on television, you're able to use your voice, you're able to use the expressions on your face, your hands, you can sulk, and you can be happy, and everything that you possess as talent can be used. And yet, on radio or voiceover, for example, I'm using this as what you guys have just said. You have to express everything I'm showing you right now, hands, body language. You have to express all of these things through one medium, your voice. And what you guys are saying actually correlates with that, because it's harder work, I believe, to be convincing when people are unable to see you. And so the work will be harder for you, because you'll have to use a lot more words in a society where they don't like a lot of words,
Right.
where everything is clipped short. I mean, it takes me forever to understand what, LOL. It took me a while. It's like texting people, what is LOL? But that's a generational thing. And so that's exactly what you're speaking about, right?
Yes.
The inability to have the one experience, and the work you will have to put into them having the same effect but a different experience.
Absolutely. So what we also need to remember as well is that when you just talked senses right now, so like the sensory experience. So remember, when one sense is taken away from you, the other ones get heightened. So now you need to bear that in mind as you communicate to people, that okay, now we no longer have, because the touch is now removed. It is, it's out of the picture. So now you have to heighten all these other senses to get people enticed and excited about what you are trying to sell to them.
Just imagine if we lived in a world where if you wanted to smell a perfume, they said, close your eyes and imagine this, and this. And you then were able to. I'm speaking nonsense, but
You can. I think you can. Why not? Why not? Why not? Get into that different dimension. Yes.
Yes. So also such things happen because you're mentioning the difference, with broadcasters, where television and radio, and how the radio guys have to, to be more expressive, because now again, sight is taken away, so people have to get that picture by you using your words to paint to them. So I'm a classically trained opera singer. So when you're singing in these foreign languages, oftentimes is that now you have to communicate what the storyline is to the people using your voice, using your expressions on your face, and then of course your gestures and everything. You actually have to act it out in order for those people that are non-Italian, French, or German speaking can actually get what you are singing about. You also have to use your voice in a manner that is actually conveying that emotion as well. So it's the same thing with communication. Again, we're talking communication. So it's the same thing that would apply here with brands. If people are not trying to interact with the brands, but there's this bit of disconnect or of miscommunication that they're not quite getting, because there's there are all types of barriers. There's all the other tools that you have in order for you to get that message across, and hopefully they get it.
And so I'd like to believe that you're pushing clients online with your creativity, and you're also pushing yourselves and your teams online and to be creative. Vivian?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we've already hosted some webinars with our business clients, with the CEO committee that we do with this Italian client, the European House Ambrosetti. So they were already hosting these, and for us it was just a matter, and we were lucky to use their technology platform to do it here in this market. I think in terms of our other clients, we are trying ways to reach their business objectives by also during this specific time doing good. So I've always been a strong believer that doing good is business. So for us, how do we reevaluate what your objectives were to still in a certain way reach them, but helping society as it is now with this challenging time and helping the most vulnerable using your brand for good. So we've been doing that, and besides the fact that it's really, really gratifying, and it's good for the morale of the business. It's good for internal and external, so reaching the business objectives to a certain extent, but also reaching levels of gratification inside the business as well, because staff and employees are also not feeling well, are also feeling the struggle, are also living in this challenging time. So I think doing good and is really helping the whole business.
Right. So I think the two of you will know that I've worked in the humanitarian space for a long time. And so we're going through such a hard time, and yet I'm so excited about the amount of compassion I'm seeing shared amongst people, one to another, but also amongst groups that personally I might never have approached for humanitarian support, if you understand what I mean. I would always have said, well, they're too busy. They don't really align to these types of things, etc. And I've been really excited to see how people have gone beyond themselves to support others. And so, Vista, our society is not just changing from a business perspective. I think it's going to have to change, and is changing on so many other spheres.
Yes, it is, Gerry, and you've just touched on it now. We are actually we are in this time of crisis right now, and it's a global crisis. And so if you look down to it and you sit and you slow down and think about it, it is actually reminding us to be human again, which is an aspect that we had, begun to forget and embrace, as humans. We are so caught up in what we are doing on a daily basis. We are so caught up on trying to get to the next thing. We're so caught up on trying to think, okay, what does the future look like? What am I planning? We're planning for things constantly on the run. We are not slowing down enough to think, to actually, when I check in on Gerry before we begin our conversation, I'm not just saying, oh, hey, how are you doing? And in passing. Now, people are actually taking the time to actually really get to know, are you actually doing well? Are you keeping safe? You see it everywhere. You see it in telephone conversations. You see it in business meetings. You see it on emails. People are not, now, if you look at the salutation lines, they have changed slightly. People are no longer just saying best regards or something of the sort. And now they're just saying, I hope you are keeping safe, or I hope you and your family are, are staying, are doing everything that you can to stay alive. Those type of things. We are constantly checking in on each other. People are checking in on their loved ones. We hear stories every day. People are genuinely checking in on each other. So yes. So what this, some of the good, I suppose, that we can take from it is that we are being reminded to be human again.
That's right. So I want to end this conversation here, but we're going to have to do it again once you have established the systems and mechanisms. I'm giving you homework once you establish the systems and mechanisms that
Yeah.
will be effective going into this new normal, from a PR and marketing perspective. Both of you are big in events. I had the funniest conversation with my daughter where someone said, "Hey, can we do some work together?" And he said, I'm in music festivals. And she said, "Okay, we need to creatively think about how you can do music festivals for 50 people at a time." He says, "What do you mean? I'm talking about real music festivals." And I'm going, you're talking about maybe 2 years down the line, right? Because there are some of these things that maybe not, maybe less, but there are some of these things that you might plan now, but you'll have to understand that it's for the future. But what I want to know from you the next time we chat is the mechanisms that are going to be in place and how you guys have managed to help your clients in the next 2 months, 3 months. Can we do that?
We can. We
Yes,
can.
and
We are
and
actually
us
already
being in
implementing some.
sports,
Oh, sports, that's interesting. And then Vesta, I'll take a point from you.
Yes, so we are actually already implementing some of those. So, for example, now there are virtual events that are taking place. I don't know if you would have seen it, but recently, if you take one of our clients, for example, Global Citizen, they did this this concert, which was virtual. You're obviously using some of these video conferencing tools that are available to us now. So artists from all over the world, that had recorded, themselves and performing, using these different platforms again, but it was streamed globally so that the message actually reaches everybody across the globe. So some of those are taking place, and of the webinars that are, webinars are not new, they've been around, but now there's been a spike actually in how they are being utilized. And people are being clever about how they are using those. There are DJs that are being very creative with how they're using their space as well and their creativity. So they are hosting these, these virtual parties. Some are, some you can actually just pay a subscription fee, or you pay a certain amount to actually
I was just
help
wondering,
support.
are they making money or are they just having fun?
Yeah, some of them are clever enough to actually figure out ways to, to get people to tune in and actually pay a certain fee to get them to, just so if people get into a party mode on a Friday, for example. So there are those that are taking place. And actually, earlier on today, I had attended again a webinar about a guy that was showing how now future events are going to look from a digital point of view. And basically how to make use of, to create an ambience, how to create that space. So we are really just moving into that realm, and we need to brace ourselves for it.
We're going to talk about sport, but I'm just thinking, what happens to all those MCs out there? What happens to, because that's a thing. I mean, your industry employs a lot of freelancers, people you book simply for occasions. Artists are one of them, caterers are others, and masters of ceremony. Do I go on and say, and welcome to this virtual Moe party?
So now those people are actually going to have to also upskill themselves, and now they're going to really have to do their work, their research, their homework, and everything, because now when brands are going to be approaching you, you need to be knowledgeable about that brand. You need to know everything there is to know about it, and the people that you need to research the people you're going to be talking to. So what I'm getting at is that you can still hire those people as moderators of these online sessions. And so, which means that they're going to have to know a little bit about Gerry, they're going to know about Vivian, they're going to know something about me in order for them to be able to pull the conversation together and have.
We'll all have to upskill ourselves. Vivian, I am interested in sport, so interested in what we're going to do with sport.
It's going to be really, really challenging. I mean, individual sports is easier. I mean, we've seen a lot of online yoga, online private training sessions, which is great. And it's still a sport and physical activity. So so in terms of the individual sports, I think that's going to be easier, and it's going to be easier also to carry out. The audience is going to be a challenge because we won't be allowed to have audiences, and we're very big in football, and that's going to be a real challenge. I mean, I'm so passionate. I love going to football matches. In my mind, I'm thinking, when am I going to be allowed to go watch my sporting heroes live? Or the same thing with cricket, the same thing with rugby and all the kind of sports. UFC has just started in America, and that it's a one-to-one contact sport, but the crowds will be able to watch online. So I think for mass participation and big event sports, it'll be a phased approach. It'll start probably under closed doors, and we'll be able to watch. A big thing is broadcast rights. So I think we need to get the content out, that live content out for the broadcasters to make their return on investment, because they spend a lot of money with these kind of big sports. And I think it'll be a phased approach. It will be, we'll have to see how we experience the stadiums again, social distancing, the safety measures, because safety in all of these sports, safety is first. They've put safety first. How do we safeguard our athletes, which are our assets? How do we safeguard the people working there? How do we safeguard our fans, which is also a big asset for them? So I think it'll be very much phased from closed doors to then opening up maybe certain levels of the stadium, and also the continuous health checks. So check your temperature on entrance, check your temperature going out. I don't think, I wouldn't want to think that we're going to be injected with a chip and a microchip. I don't want to even go there. I don't want even to think about this vaccine.
If Bill Gates hasn't said it, it ain't happening.
Maybe not go there.
Vista, thank you so much.
I think it would be very...
Yeah, Vista, thank you so much for the conversation. Vista, Kalipa. You know what? I'm so proud of both of you. You guys have grown in your industries in leaps and bounds. I've been at your events and been very welcomed, and I hope that you keep inviting me to your virtual events, even as they come.
Thank you, Gerry.
And Vista, thank you so much for the chat. We'll chat again soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.